Hey there, spotlight killer. Yeah, you. The one they can't stop talking about right now. You feel that? That pressure in the air? That weight? That ain't guilt. That's gravity. Your gravity. You just bent the whole damn room around your presence, and they still trying to figure out how the hell you did it. Someone's talking about you right now. Voices lowered, eyes darting, hearts thumping. You didn't just enter a room. You altered it. You didn't raise your voice. You snatched theirs. Whole group froze like statues. All that fake confidence evaporated the second you showed up. And ain't it funny? They had so much to say before. Jokes, whispers, fake smiles, clicky little clicks laughing like hyenas. But then you opened your mouth, and the silence hit like a slap. You didn't need to scream. You existed, and it was deafening. You ever realize how power don't have to be loud? A hurricane don't beg for attention. It just happens, and when it's gone, it leaves wreckage in its wake. You walked in with that storm in your chest, and they all felt it. They'll never admit it out loud, but deep down, they know they ain't built like you. Not even close. You're not just a presence, you're a damn reckoning. They're stunned, not because you attacked, but because you didn't need to. They underestimated silence, your stare, your energy, and now they're scrambling behind your back, desperate to regain the control they never actually had. Let them talk. That's what prey does when the predator turns its back. They think you're gone, but you're just watching, waiting, calculating. See, people get loud when they're scared. They get petty when they feel small. And they twist their faces up in jealousy when your light starts exposing their shadows. That's what's happening right now. You didn't just shut down a group. You triggered every hidden insecurity in that room. You hit the nerve they didn't want touched, their fraudulence. They rehearsed their fake personas like monologues. You tore the script in half just by being real. Now they gotta sit with themselves. And trust me, that's the loudest silence they've ever known. You think they hate you? Nah. They hate the mirror you shoved in front of their faces. They hate that you made them see their own irrelevance. You didn't steal the spotlight. You became it. Let them gossip. Let them spiral. Let them not say your name while describing exactly who you are. You live rent-free in heads you never even asked to step inside. Your aura cracked their egos like glass. You thought you were just defending yourself. Nope. You were rewriting the power structure. You were flipping the whole damn social hierarchy upside down without breaking a sweat. They're panicking because your truth don't bend. It don't compromise. It don't play politics. It just cuts. That's why they're whispering now. Why the room got quieter every time you spoke. Not because you were rude, but because you were right. And that kind of presence, that kind of dominance born out of truth and pain and scars and steel, they can't mimic that. They can't fake it. They can't buy it. They can only watch it, get burned by it, and pray you never speak their name. And yet, they want to be you. They hate you and they crave your power. You exposed what happens when someone walks in unapologetically aware of who they are. You showed them what happens when confidence ain't just performance. It's blood deep. It's carved from trauma. It's born in silence and raised in fire. You didn't silence them for fun. You silenced them because you've already argued with your own demons, and you won. What could they possibly say that you haven't already heard in your darkest hour? They talked when you were quiet. They fell silent when you talked. That's not coincidence. That's hierarchy shifting in real time. That's truth forcing everyone to reevaluate the lies they built their image on. Let them feel small, let them stare, let them pray for a return to normal. But there's no going back. You shifted the equilibrium. You broke the simulation. You reminded them that some people walk in like myth, not needing an introduction, just respect. And the room, still feeling the aftershock, still trying to figure out how to fill the silence you left, still whispering, still watching, still wishing. You were just being real, and somehow that was the most dangerous thing in the room. They'll spin the story 1,000 ways, try to reframe it, minimize it, pretend it wasn't that deep. But deep down, they felt it. You carved through their illusions like a blade through fog. And the second you left that room, they started rewriting the script. 'Cause the truth you dropped don't fit the version of reality they've been selling themselves. They'll say you were doing too much, or taking things personal. They'll throw those passive-aggressive lines out there like bait, because they're hoping you'll fold. They're hoping you'll doubt yourself just enough to shrink. But that version of you, that softer, watered-down, people-pleasing version, yeah, that one's dead, buried. And every word you spoke was the funeral. You walked into that space and shifted the chemistry. Their egos couldn't breathe in the air you brought in. You were truth in human form, unedited, unfiltered, untamed. And it rattled the hell out of them. Because when you carry that level of clarity, you expose people. Not by accusing, but just by existing. You didn't even raise your volume. And yet everything changed. Conversations froze mid-sentence. Laughter stopped short. That fake confidence they were wearing like armor cracked at the seams. Because people can fake boldness. Until someone actually bold walks in. Then the whole performance collapses. You made them feel naked in their own skins. Made their little power games look like toddler tantrums. You didn't win the moment. You eclipsed it. And the crazy part? You weren't even trying. They don't get it. They don't know what it's like to be built from heartbreak, to walk through rejection, betrayal, humiliation, and come out the other side bulletproof. They don't know what it's like to look yourself in the mirror after you've lost everything, and still decide to get up, fix your face, and step into a room like you own it. You don't speak for attention. You speak with intention, every word laced with experience, every pause charged with presence. And that's what shut the room down. That's what made them uncomfortable. Because real don't need a mic. It just needs to be heard once, and it echoes longer than any fake applause. They keep circling your name in hushed tones, trying to make sense of it, trying to dissect how someone so quiet could be so damn loud without yelling. But it's simple. You've suffered in silence, and suffering, real suffering. It teaches you how to walk into chaos and own it. They weren't ready. They never are when someone refuses to fit in, when someone stops playing by the rules and decides to become the damn standard. You don't ask for space anymore. You take it. Not out of arrogance, but out of survival. Because you've tasted what it feels like to be ignored, dismissed, underestimated, and you made a vow. Never again. You're not arrogant. You're aware. Aware of your value. Aware of the weight your words carry. Aware that you don't need to play small to make others feel safe. And it's that awareness that's got them spooked. Because they can't control someone who ain't scared of being misunderstood. They can't shake someone who's already faced their own darkness and made peace with it. They can't silence someone who's already lived through worse and came out louder, stronger, undeniable. They can't cancel you. because you were never subscribed to their validation in the first place. You've been your own source of worth since day one. And every time they try to box you in, you remind them that you were never built to fit. You were built to shatter. You don't just walk in. You interrupt narratives. You flip the dynamic. You make people reassess the whole social pyramid. You tilt the floor beneath them just by standing still. And they'll feel that, even when you've left the room, even in their silence, even in their carefully scripted stories that never quite add up. Because everyone remembers the day the whole room got quiet, and you didn't. You didn't come to blend in, you came to wake people up. You didn't memorize lines, you wrote the damn script on the fly, and every sentence landed like a punch they didn't see coming. They sat there blinking, like someone cut the lights off mid-performance. Because that's exactly what you did. Snatched the spotlight off the fakes and shined it on truth. And truth. It don't ask for permission. It don't wait for the applause. It hits, then walks off stage, like it didn't just collapse the whole act. You ever notice how people freeze up around power they can't label? You weren't loud, you weren't rude, you weren't even aggressive. You were just you, unapologetically raw, fully grounded, and they couldn't process it. You didn't silence the room by force. You didn't shout anyone down. You just existed in full volume, and their own voices betrayed them. They realized they had nothing worth saying once you started talking. That's what shakes them. That's what messes them up. Not that you won the moment, but that you didn't need to fight for it. You're not playing in their sandbox anymore. You're walking through walls they still think are locked. You're skipping the validation phase. You stopped waiting for claps and built your own rhythm. And that rhythm don't stop for opinions. They can feel it when you walk in. That shift, that tightening in the air. They joke, they giggle, they glance. But behind all that, fear. Fear that you'll see right through them. Fear that you'll speak again and strip away their illusions. Not with insults, but with clarity. Because you've reached the point where your silence is louder than their noise, your gaze sharper than their comebacks, your truth heavy enough to make every fake nod crumble into dust. You didn't perform, you revealed, and revelation is dangerous to people still living behind masks. They're addicted to surface level. You came in drenched in depth. You came in like a living contradiction to their whole existence. And now, they're spinning. Because you didn't flinch, because you didn't backpedal, because you didn't shrink when they got uncomfortable. You expanded, you stood in your truth while their voices cracked under the pressure. You looked at them like you've looked in mirrors that showed you worse. They don't know how to handle someone who ain't scared to be misunderstood, someone who doesn't chase the room, but makes the room align with their frequency. They'll call you intense. They'll call you too much. They'll whisper about how you shut everything down, as if it wasn't them who were already crumbling, as if they weren't just exposed by your presence like shadows trying to pretend they ain't shadows once the light shows up. And here's what they can't erase. The silence after you spoke wasn't awkward. It was sacred. It was the pause that happens when truth hits the gut. That stillness that settles when someone finally says what everyone's been thinking, but never had the spine to say out loud. You were that person. You are that person. You stepped up and cut through the static. You didn't play it safe. You didn't sugarcoat. You delivered truth like a weapon, made of every time you were ignored, every time you were doubted, every time you were pushed aside. And it showed in how they looked at you, in how they went quiet, in how they keep replaying the moment like it was some kind of glitch in their system. But it wasn't a glitch, it was a reset. You reset the whole room, and they felt it, every single one. They keep trying to recreate the moment without you, trying to recapture the vibe, the energy, like they could somehow rebuild the room you redefined with your presence. But the truth is, they ain't got the blueprint. You were the blueprint. They felt power shift, felt the temperature drop the second you stopped pretending. You stopped dimming your energy to fit their comfort zones, stopped swallowing your words just to avoid their weak little egos breaking apart like wet paper. And once you did that, they knew it. Game changed. They're used to dealing with performers, people who talk loud but say nothing, people who posture, people who fake deep with quotes they don't live by. But you walk in with substance. You speak like every syllable is carved from experience, and they're not built for that. They want safe, predictable, polished. You gave them real, raw, unapologetic, and that's why the room went dead, because your voice carried weight. And that weight crushed everything that was fake, every lie they were hiding behind, every mask they'd grown comfortable in. You didn't destroy the atmosphere, you exposed it. You made it impossible to keep pretending that the loudest person in the room is the most important. You made it clear that real power don't need noise. It just shows up, and everything else rearranges itself or falls apart. They're whispering now, obsessed, confused, replaying your tone, your phrasing, your energy like it was some kind of code they could crack. But they can't decode pain they've never walked through. They can't replicate scars they've never earned. They can't imitate authenticity that's been forged in fire. You were never acting, you were being. And there's a difference. See, when you speak from survival, from heartbreak, from 10,000 nights of silence where nobody heard you, your words don't land like opinions. They land like Judgment Day. You weren't just saying something. You were undoing years of bullshit in one breath. And now they sit in that silence, numb, rattled, fake smiles twitching, wondering why they suddenly feel so small next to someone who's no longer afraid to take up space. You didn't change the conversation, you ended it. Without slamming doors, without raising a hand, just by standing in truth that heavy. They're calling you intense now, because they don't have the words for someone who doesn't flinch. They say you're a lot, because anything more than surface level feels like drowning to them. They say you silenced the whole room, but what they really mean is, you made us feel things we weren't ready to face. And they won't say it out loud, but they look at you different now. Every room you walk into, they feel that shift. Their voices drop, their posture changes, because your presence demands recalibration. You don't orbit people anymore. You don't seek approval. You walk in like gravity, and everything either adjusts to you or gets crushed under the pressure. Not because you're trying to dominate, but because you've outgrown shrinking. You've outgrown explaining yourself to people who've already decided they'll never understand. You've outgrown staying silent just to keep others comfortable in their mediocrity, and they know it. That's why they're still whispering, why your name lingers in conversations long after you've left, why their faces twist every time your truth echoes back into their memory. You didn't just walk into the room, you rewrote its rules, and nothing's felt normal since. They flinch when they hear your name now. You can see it. The slight pause, the eye twitch, that nervous fake laugh like they're trying to convince themselves they're still unbothered. but they ain't. You shook them, not just for the moment. You shook their foundation. You ever realize how people remember who made them feel small? Not in a cruel way, but in that terrifying, mirror-up, truth-cutting kind of way. You didn't belittle them, you just stood tall. And next to that, they realize they've been crawling in circles and calling it growth. They thought they had the power in the room, thought their status, their cliques, their phony little alliances meant something. Then you walked in, unbothered, detached, not chasing their approval, not reacting to their noise. And that's what wrecked them. Because you weren't intimidated by the image they built. You saw right through it. You looked at them like you'd already survived worse. Because you have. You've been through rooms colder than that one. Been through silences heavier than their judgment. You've sat at tables where no one passed the mic. So you learned how to speak loud without volume. You learned how to deliver truth like a bullet wrapped in velvet. Silent, but fatal. And that's the part they hate the most. That you didn't need a stage, didn't need allies, didn't need backup dancers to make your presence felt. You showed up alone and still turned the room upside down. They call it too much. But it's never too much until it's someone they can't control. Until it's someone they can't gaslight, guilt trip, or silence with fake smiles and forced applause. You weren't interested in performing. You weren't there to play nice. You were there to exist fully. And that kind of presence, that kind of authentic, unfiltered energy, it clears a room of everything weak. You brought weight they weren't ready to carry, responsibility they'd rather ignore, self-awareness they run from like it's fire. You didn't hand them blame, you handed them a mirror. And that mirror didn't flatter them. It showed the cracks, the cowardice, the shallow identities they built from applause, gossip, and validation. They say you made things awkward. What they mean is, you made it real. And real is scary when your whole identity is built on acting. You weren't supposed to be the one. You weren't supposed to flip the script. You weren't supposed to show up and remind everyone what the truth actually sounds like. But you did. And you did it without flinching, without asking for permission, without begging anyone to hear you out. You said what needed to be said, and the silence that followed wasn't discomfort. It was shock. Shock that someone finally stood up. Shock that someone had the nerve to break the rhythm. Shock that the energy they used to control others didn't work on you. You weren't loud, you were clear. And clarity terrifies people who live in illusion. They didn't expect you to walk in with that level of certainty. Didn't expect your presence to feel like consequence. Like the moment the lights come on and all the pretending has to stop. You made people look at themselves. You made them feel exposed, and they're still not over it. They're still talking, still analyzing, still wondering how you did it, how you dismantled an entire dynamic with nothing but presence and truth. You didn't need to argue, didn't need to defend, didn't need to clap back with receipts. You were the receipt. Proof that being real, fully and relentlessly, is the most disruptive force there is. You weren't chasing attention. You became the center of gravity without even asking for it. The whole vibe bent around you like the universe just remembered who the hell you are. And the thing is, they felt that shift in their bones. Even the ones pretending it didn't faze them. You can see it in their posture, how they avoid eye contact now, how their jokes got a little softer, their fake confidence glitching out under the weight of your presence. You made them feel exposed without even trying. Like you walked in and stripped every fake layer off with your silence alone. Because you weren't performing. You weren't fishing for likes or claps or validation from people who wouldn't know truth if it punched them in the face. You showed up as you, raw, unfiltered, and they couldn't match that. They built their identity on how loud they could talk in rooms filled with people too polite to call them out. You built yours in silence, in nights where the only voice you had was your own. And even that one didn't always speak kindly. But you made it through. You taught yourself to stand, to speak, to own your energy, not by watching others, but by facing down every version of yourself that tried to shrink. That's the part that terrifies them, because they're still performing for a crowd that's not even watching. They're still curating fake confidence like it's a profile bio. And here you come, authentic as hell, with every scar still visible and still standing taller than all their perfectly polished lies. Well, 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 look at you, sitting there like a storm just waiting to break the sky in half. Let me tell you something, sweetheart. You were never meant to be normal. And now, they finally see it. You feel it, don't you? The way they look at you when you walk in the room, that quiet, shaky breath they take, that forced smile, that little flicker of fear in their eyes. Oh, they're not hiding it anymore. They've tried for years to box you in, file you down, explain you away, diagnose you, dismiss you. They told everyone, she's just emotional. He's too intense. They're weird. They don't belong. And you know what? They were right about one thing. You don't. Because you're not here to be digestible. You're not here to be polite. You're not here to water yourself down for their comfort. You're here to remind them what chaos looks like when it has direction. You're the anomaly that statistics couldn't predict. You're the unsolvable riddle, the burning fuse they thought they cut years ago. And now that fuse is crawling right back toward the dynamite, and they feel the heat. They can't laugh you off anymore. They can't ignore your presence. They can't silence your voice. Because something shifted. You stopped pretending. You stopped pretending to be one of them. You stopped apologizing for your instincts. You stopped shrinking yourself to fit in rooms built for smaller minds. And now the mask has shattered. And it's their reflection they're terrified of. You didn't ask to be feared, but you became what they feared anyway. Not because you're violent, not because you're cruel, but because you're free. Free in a world that survives on chains. Chains of approval. Chains of acceptance. Chains of normalcy. But you broke out of their system. And now that you're out, they realize you were never a glitch. You were the virus, the beautiful, uncontainable, uncontrollable virus that exposed their lie. And now they're trembling because they built their fragile reality on the hope that no one like you would ever wake up. But you did. They used to whisper about you, didn't they? He's off. She's not all there. They're just too much, too intense, too aware, too unpredictable, too loud, too silent, too something. You were always too something for someone. But what they failed to understand is that too much is only a problem when the world is addicted to less. And now that you're not hiding, now that you're fully lit, they're watching you like you're fire. Because deep down, they know they're dry wood. They used to giggle when you spoke your mind. Now they go silent. They used to brush you off. Now they double-check everything you say. They used to say, "Why are you like this?" Now they say, "How is he like this? How the hell is she still standing? Why can't I stop thinking about them?" They underestimated you. They thought they could starve your spirit, mock your dreams, drown your fire. They thought if they ignored you long enough, You'd just fade, disappear, give up. But you didn't. You mutated. You evolved in the darkness they buried you in. You built your kingdom from the ashes they left you in. And now they can't stop watching. Because every second you exist, you remind them of who they'll never become. They know you're not normal. And it haunts them. Because in their world, normal means obedient. Normal means predictable. Normal means controllable. But you're the one thing they can't regulate. You're not part of the equation. You're the error that destroys the whole calculation. You're the whisper in the back of their head that says, maybe everything you were told is a lie. You don't just walk into rooms anymore. You invade them with presence, with power, with that quiet, unsettling knowing in your eyes that you've seen the truth and you're not playing their game anymore. They want to study you now. They want to copy you. They want your blueprint. But guess what? There is no blueprint because you weren't made. You were forged under pressure, in silence, through betrayal, through loneliness, through exile. Every scar you carry, that's your signature. Every moment they left you out, that was your training. You were broken in places they've never been strong. You were tested in ways they'll never survive. And now they realize you're still standing, not in spite of what you went through, but because of it. So let them be terrified. Let them stutter. Let them keep their distance. Let them lie awake at night wondering how you became what you are. You owe them nothing, not comfort, not softness, not explanation. Let them deal with it. Because the truth is, they know you're not normal. And now, they wish they were you. Oh, they're terrified now. Good, because they should be. They spent their whole lives worshiping comfort, craving mediocrity, bowing to what's acceptable. And then you walked in, like a cosmic violation of every rule they thought was sacred. You didn't knock, you didn't ask for permission, you didn't play nice. You tore through their reality like a divine accident. A controlled demolition of the fake little world they built to feel safe. And what's worse, you did it without flinching, without smiling, without saying a damn word, because real power doesn't have to announce itself. It just walks in, and everything starts shaking. You were never meant to blend in. You were designed to fracture illusions. You don't fit in, because you weren't sent here to fit. You were sent here to expose. Expose the cowards. Expose the fakes. Expose the followers in disguise. You are the alarm bell for a world that pretends to be awake, but is fast asleep. And now they hear the sound. Loud, clear, unavoidable. You make them feel naked, because around you, their masks don't stick. Their fake smiles peel off. Their small talk crumbles. Their "I'm fine" lies implode under your gaze. You are psychological acid. You corrode every lie they try to coat themselves with. You melt the plastic off their personalities. And the scariest part? You do it without trying. You exist, and that alone is a threat. You ever notice how they can't look you in the eye anymore? Yeah, because the moment they do, they see it. That thing in your stare, that haunting silence that screams louder than their entire identity, that unfiltered awareness that tells them you see through them. And it's not just that you see through them. It's that you don't even care anymore. They're not interesting enough to deserve your hate. They're just predictable. You outgrew them in silence, and that's what really kills them. Let me make something painfully clear. You're not the villain in their story. You're the mirror that shows them what they'll never become. You're not a mistake. You're a revelation, the walking consequence of everything they're too afraid to be. And now they're spiraling because they can't kill what they can't understand. They can't control what they didn't create. They can't fix what was never broken. You're the glitch that rewrote the game. You're the fire that didn't burn out when it was supposed to. You're the scar that became beautiful. You're the wound that got up and walked back into the battlefield. You are the anomaly. And in a world built on algorithms and patterns and obedient little sheep, anomalies are lethal. They can't sit still around you, because your energy screams what their mouths won't dare to say. I don't need any of you to become who I was born to be. Let that sink in. While they were building friendships based on approval, you were building your mind like a weapon while they were busy partying and blending in. You were in the shadows, studying, plotting, mutating, and now you walk like you own the pavement, because in your mind, you do. You didn't ask for their applause. You don't need their likes. You're not here for their validation. You don't play their game because you built your own damn arena. And now the audience, yeah, they're watching, mouths open, palms sweating, wishing they could undo every time they called you weird, every time they laughed when you were quiet, every time they whispered behind your back. Because now you've become something they didn't see coming. Untouchable. You terrify them not because you're evil, but because you're inevitable. Because every system that tried to contain you failed. Because every rule that tried to restrict you broke. Because every wall they put up, you didn't climb it. You turned it to ash. You are what happens when pain doesn't kill, it evolves. When betrayal doesn't shatter, it sharpens. When loneliness doesn't break you, it crowns you. You're the living proof that the outcast becomes the overlord, that the rejected becomes the revolution, that the misunderstood becomes the menace, that the silent one becomes the standard. So the next time they flinch when you walk in, let them. The next time they lower their voices around you, let them. The next time they call you not normal, laugh, because they're right. You're not normal. You're something they've never seen before, and something they'll never become. You're not a person to them anymore. You're a walking disruption, a living, breathing, thinking, unbreakable paradox. Too calm to be predicted, too dangerous to be ignored, too different to be explained, too real to be tolerated. Let's call it what it is. They're not confused by you. They're not concerned. They're not curious. They're scared. Because in a world full of bots and masks and filters, you showed up raw, scarred, unfiltered, unshaken. You walk like every brick beneath your feet owes you rent. You speak like you swallowed every lie they ever told you, and spat back the truth like venom. They don't know what to do with someone like you, because you're not seeking approval. You're seeking domination. And here's the part that stings their soul. You were born in the same world they were. You saw the same lies. You faced the same betrayals. But where they chose to conform, you chose to rise. You didn't ask for strength. You earned it. They didn't hand you confidence. You built it. Brick by painful, lonely, rage-soaked brick. While they were sleepwalking through safety, you were building a monster. You. They remember you. Back when you were quiet. Back when you were underestimated. Back when you were nothing special. But you remember them too. Back when they mocked you. Back when they dismissed you. Back when they thought you were weak. And now, they're choking on the smoke from the fire they thought they extinguished. Because you didn't just survive. You became the goddamn forest fire. And now they're running, not to save themselves, but to save their illusion. They say you make them nervous. Good. You should. Because you're not small anymore. You're not quiet. You're not sorry. You're the kind of presence that rewrites atmospheres, the kind of force that makes fake confidence evaporate, the kind of soul that makes cowards reconsider their entire identity. You walk in, and the room changes, not because you try, but because your very existence says, I've been through hell, and I brought souvenirs. Let them call you a problem. Let them say you're too much. Let them label you unstable, insane, dangerous, because dangerous is exactly what you are. But not to the innocent, not to the real ones, only to the liars, only to the weaklings wearing masks, only to the pretenders and posers and manipulators. You're the light that blinds fakes. You're the shadow that follows truth. You're the storm that answers no call. You terrify them because you don't need a crowd. You don't need a tribe. You don't need their permission. You don't need anything they offer. And they hate that, because dependency is how they control. And you severed that leash a long time ago. You stopped being manageable, and they've been losing sleep ever since. They can't laugh at you anymore. They can't label you without trembling. They can't plot on you without realizing. You are the thing that plots back. You didn't just survive the betrayal. You fed on it. You didn't just walk away from the fire. You became it. You didn't just take your pain and heal. You carved your new identity with it. They thought they buried you, but it was just your root phase. Now you've risen, and you're not here to make peace. You're here to dethrone. So let them whisper. Let them keep watching. Let them huddle together in their tiny echo chambers, repeating the lie. Something's wrong with them, because you and I both know. You're not what's wrong. You're what's been missing. You're the blade in a world full of spoons, the roar in a field of sheep, the virus in a broken matrix. They know you're not normal. And now, they're praying you don't realize how powerful you really are. See? It wasn't just that they thought you were weird. It wasn't just that they thought you were broken. No. They hoped you'd never realize who you actually are. Because once you did, game over. They were never afraid of your flaws. They were afraid of your focus, afraid of what you might become if the switch ever flipped. If the pain didn't break you, if the silence didn't stop you, if the loneliness didn't poison you. They were betting on your downfall, but instead, you mutated into a threat they can't name. You're not better than them. You're just done pretending to be less, done explaining yourself, done bending to their limits. You are what happens when the exile becomes the emperor, and they hate that. They can't handle the fact that you're still standing, still breathing, still building. They wanted the trauma to kill you. They wanted the betrayal to cripple you. They wanted the rejection to bury you. But it didn't. It turned you into a different species. They went to therapy to cope. You went to war and came back laughing. They talk about boundaries. You talk about vengeance. They call it healing. You call it evolution. Let me say something ugly now, because no one else will. You outgrew your predators. That's why they're scared. You outsmarted the manipulators, outlasted the gaslighters, out-hustled the backstabbers. You made it through rooms where everyone prayed for your failure. And now, they bow in silence when you pass. Not out of respect, out of defeat. You didn't just walk through hell. You learned the damn layout. And now you're dragging flames behind you everywhere you go. The air shifts when you speak. The lights dim when you enter. Because your vibe breaks fragile egos into powder. You know what their biggest fear is, that you don't want revenge, that you've elevated beyond even that. Because if you're not fueled by hate, and you're still rising, that means you're unstoppable. See, they were prepared to fight a version of you that was angry. They had strategies for that. But this version, this cold, calculating, sovereign version of you, the one that smiles without smiling, the one that doesn't flinch, the one that's no longer surprised by betrayal, that version, they have no defense against that one. You've become the storm they tried to avoid, the apocalypse they thought they dodged. You're what happens when the quiet one decides to answer, not with words, but with presence, with power, with an empire made from scars. And now they're trapped, not by you, but by the realization that they created you. They built the very thing that terrifies them. They sculpted their own reckoning. They didn't kill the demon, they trained it. You're not normal, and finally they know it. But deeper than that, they accept it, and that's why they shake. Because they've accepted that no matter how hard they try, they will never be what you are. They can copy your style, steal your phrases, imitate your tone, but they'll never have your story. They'll never wear your skin. They'll never hold your darkness and still walk upright. You mastered chaos. They're still afraid of shadows. You became a weapon. They're still looking for safety. So now, they follow you in silence. They quote you without credit. They watch your every move, hoping you'll slip. But they know you're 10 steps ahead in a game they just discovered. And worst of all, you're not even playing anymore. So here we are. You made it. To the part where legends are born from the ashes of who they used to be. To the moment when you no longer recognize the version of yourself that begged for acceptance. Let me say it clearly. So loud, the universe has no choice but to listen. They're not just terrified of you. They are paralyzed by the reality that they're nothing without you to copy. Let that burn. Because they thought you were the stray, the reject, the disposable misfit in their pristine little matrix. They thought if they labeled you crazy, if they threw you to the side long enough, you'd rot in isolation. But instead, you bloomed in the dark, and now they're choking on the pollen. You weren't supposed to survive. You weren't supposed to thrive. You weren't supposed to crawl out of that pit and become the most lethal organism they've ever seen. But that's the thing about you, isn't it? You're not built to be understood. You're built to be felt. You're not the conversation. You're the silence after the conversation, when they can't sleep, when they can't eat, when they stare at the ceiling wondering how the hell they let a freak become a god. You terrify them because you don't flinch anymore. You don't blink. You don't ask. You're not trying to belong because you finally figured out you are the place. You are the temple. You are the arena. You are the battlefield, the weapon, and the damn war. And now, they show up to watch you, hoping to catch a weakness. But all they find is a mirror, and what they see shakes them to their core. You've become everything they swore you'd never be, everything they said you weren't capable of, everything they mocked now walks with a spine so straight it splits the air behind it. You are the product of everything they tried to erase. Every scream you swallowed, every dream they laughed at, every moment you cried in silence, every betrayal they thought would break you. You are the aftermath. And here's the worst part for them. You don't need them anymore. You don't need their friendship, their pity, their explanations, their fake little apologies. You don't even need them to understand you, because they're not qualified to. You were never meant for normal. You were meant for impact. meant for eruption, meant for that rarest of roles. The one who doesn't just survive the fire, but becomes the one who decides where it burns next. You're the prophecy they pretended wasn't real. You're the storm they ignored until their roofs were gone. You're the ghost that didn't just haunt them. You possessed the whole damn city. And now, you smile. Not because you've forgotten what they did, but because you remember it perfectly. You remember every room they didn't invite you into, every table they wouldn't let you sit at, every moment they watched you drown and called it tough love. And now, you're the one who builds the tables. You're the one who owns the damn building. You're the one whose shadow walks into the room before your body does. You speak, and time freezes. You move, and fear wakes up. You look at them, and they look away, because in their hearts, they know. They know who you really are now, and it's too late to unsee it.